My name is Jaswinder Bedi. I come from Kenya. Do you mind if I remove my mask? I think you'll hear me better. We have enough social distance between us. Yes, so we are actually a Kenyan-based company. We started fine spinners in Kenya in 1996. We've been importing Ugandan cotton to run our factories. As you know, there's been very little cotton in Kenya. And over the years, we found it very difficult to survive without the security of raw material. And we tried to change our model and continuously trying to see how we can survive with reduced raw material. We used to get Ugandan cotton coming into our factory in Nairobi for about 8 months, and then for 4 or 5 months we would have no cotton. Then we'd go to Tanzania to seek for cotton, and literally 1 or 2 months in a year we would have zero cotton, because the merchants, cotton merchants from the world would actually come and buy and bump up all the East African cotton, and suddenly we found ourselves running a factory with very little raw material. Of course, around that time, 2010, 11, 12, I had some interactions being the chairman of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers with His Excellency the President of Uganda, President Museveni. And one day he asked me, why are you located in Kenya if your cotton is coming from Uganda? Have you not been to school where you should be located where the raw material comes from and not the other way around? And I looked at him and said, Mzee, you have a point, but we have to relocate an entire investment and it's not going to be so easy. And President Museveni then said, what do you require for us to help you think of that big step in your life that you were thinking of relocation? And I believe at that time, this factory where we are today was originally started in 2002. It was the old coffee marketing board. The journey has been, as you know, over 80 years, when it was just a coffee marketing board and it was shipping all the coffee from here to Mombasa to be exported. And then as soon as AGOA was announced in the year 2000, Uganda was one of the forefront countries pushing for legislation, pushing for market access, and market access largely to the US market. And I believe you managed to get some Sri Lankan investors in the year 2002, a company called TriStar that actually came and invested in here. And they were importing their raw materials from China and manufacturing garments here in this factory and then exporting it back. I believe there was some scandal in 2006 and 7, and that factory had to shut down. Thereafter, I believe, the Libyans took it. It was called Libya-Africa Partnership. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2011 with the global freeze of all Libyan assets. And this was one of those assets. And I think we were just lucky at the right time, right place, where we were thinking of investment in Uganda. And at the same time, this factory was then available. And of course, when I looked at this factory, I looked at it very in detail, and I said, surely the other people have failed. Why did they fail? And I don't want to fail when we come into Uganda. So I realized that the one thing that the previous owners were doing is that they were actually importing raw materials from China, bringing them through Port of Mombasa, trucking them all the way to Kampala, making garments, and then re-exporting them all the way back to Mombasa. So it's a big journey if you look at it. It's about, I would say, more than 1,500 kilometers from Mombasa to here. So it's not so easy for goods to come all the way. Yes, Kenya has done very well under AGOA, but because Kenya has a seaport, and a lot of those factories are located at the port of Mombasa, in Mombasa city itself. So it's easy for them to bring in raw materials and to re-export. So I realized that the only way that this company and fine spinners journey will be successful is that we need to change the model. And we decided the only model that will work for Uganda is that we use locally grown raw material, we use what is available locally, and then with the potential of exporting to Europe and to the US. And that's really what we did. And we actually reconfigured the entire model. The entire model was from farm to fashion. So we have our own plantations where we are actually working with contract farming with farmers. In fact, more than 16,000 smallholder farmers in Kasese area actually growing cotton for us. We've also built a school in Kasese for their children. And it's a whole story, and we are doing a value-added product, and the value that we are adding from the seed to the shirt is 35 times. And I mean, to give you an example, Uganda exports about 500 million, $50 million, sorry, of raw cotton every year, and that's what they've been doing. But if they export t-shirts, a simple t-shirt like what you see in the factory, they can generate $750 million from what they would have sold at $50 million. So it's a massive transformation of value, and that's what President Museveni keeps talking about, that we are, in Africa, we are donors to the rest of the world because we are very happy giving our raw materials away for almost no price. So for example, cotton which is being sold at $1, raw cotton, you get $15. Why won't you take $15? Why would you concentrate on that $1? And even today, largely, with us coming into Uganda, we consume about 10% of Uganda's crop. And our journey is to actually grow that and to take it to 20% of Uganda's crop. Right now, we're doing a massive expansion, 100% expansion. We are diversifying our product portfolio, our product range. We've already gone into new product lines. And we're looking at not only export or regional, this factory was geared up, but let's look at the export potential and a huge market opportunity. And since we've been here in this journey from 2015, 2016, when we started the factory, we've realized that the domestic market is equally big and the regional market is equally big. So from what we started at 80% export to with 20% domestic market, we very quickly realized that, you know what, there is a huge domestic potential as well, and we need to just diversify our product offering and our product range, and that's what we're doing now. So we've actually come a long way. We started the first exports out of this factory to Denmark in 2016, and I remember in those days President Museveni was on his campaign trail, but he had the time and he had the compassion and he had the vision that, you know what, we need to do a value-added product, and if there's one factory that's doing that, we should support that factory. He actually came here through his very extensive campaign trail in 2016 and actually flagged off the first container of cotton t-shirts that were going to Denmark to a customer called Bestseller. Most of you know it as a brand called Jack & Jones. They have 7,000 stores in China, 3,000 stores in Europe, and they were very clear. They want a sustainable and traceable cotton. And if they look at the cotton that Uganda's got, it's one of the finest cottons in the world, hand-baked, very little trash, long staple, beautiful white cotton. And we are actually giving them a label which they're very proud of, because that label is totally traceable and sustainable cotton. All the large retailers in those days in 2016 said by 2020 we will want a traceable and sustainable cotton. We would not want to buy conventional cotton. And our factory in Uganda, in Kampala, was actually delivering that value to all of our big retailers. Of course, we then started working with Germany, with the second largest online retailer in the world called Otto Group. Brands like Bon Prix, which are all part of the Otto Group, have actually really flourished, and we are selling a lot of our t-shirts to Germany. The original setup of this factory was for the US market, and we had a little bit of a challenge at that particular time because of the passing of the legislation on homosexuality. But since at that time we had a little bit of a blip, because when the buyers came in, they had a little bit of nervousness on placing business here in this factory. But you know, we moved on. We just decided that we have to carry on. We have committed to this investment, and we will look at alternative markets. And that's the reason we steered away from the US market and then came back as the legislation was lifted and amended. As you know, the law was annulled. And so we are actually very proud of this investment. We're very happy that we are in Uganda, and we're very happy that we have security of raw material, which was the single biggest problem that we had. Of course, when we looked at this investment here, we had a certain asks, as I would call it, because we wanted to be competitive and we wanted to be globally competitive, because I don't think you can say that, oh, we are in Africa, you need to look at us differently, pay us a higher price. At the end of the day, it's business. You know, people are not interested in charity. They want to, everybody's in business, so they don't care. They want you to be world class, and we are world class. Yeah, and I don't believe that you can be kati-kati, you can be halfway through. Either you're world class or you're no class. So this, we are very clear that this is what we are doing, and we're making a world class product. We're selling to the big retailers out there, and we got a lot of support from the government of Uganda Of course, the Uganda National Textile Policy was brilliant. When I read the document, it was, I think, first submitted to Parliament in 2008. It was just not enacted. I mean, the policy was so brilliant that it would bring investment into Uganda. And it got consummated, and we got electricity at a special price, and we got everything that was in that policy was actually delivered by the government of Uganda. I know other countries have actually followed that policy since. We've seen a lot of that happening in Ethiopia. We've seen a lot of investment happening in Ethiopia. But it was all designed out of here. And I must say that our goal is very clear. Our journey is very clear. We would like to add value, more and more value to Ugandan cotton, and really sell it as a finished product as opposed to selling it as a raw material. Like I said, the numbers make sense. I mean, in this factory here, I call it a small factory, we have 1,600 people working in this factory, and with our expansion, this is going to go to 3,500 people, and if that's like 20% of Uganda's crop. As we grow our factory, the Ugandan cotton is also growing. We're also looking at some contract farming in the north of Uganda, in those marginalized areas around Gulu. So we are looking at how we can partner with local people, how we can secure our raw material. Your climate is just beautiful. I mean, it's just right for the right quality of cotton. And I've said it previously also in public forums, because I actually been single-handedly championing the African Growth and Opportunity Act. I was the chairman of the African Cotton and Textile Industries Federation, which is 17 African countries. And fortunately, I was also made the global president of the International Textile Manufacturers Federation. And in public forums, I've actually asked people, where is the best cotton in the world? And many people would put up their hand and say, oh, it's Egypt. And I would say, Egypt grows cotton using certain water from certain inland African country. And which country is that? And they all say, that's Uganda. I said, well, that's your answer. Surely the source of the Nile is where this water comes from, and that is Uganda, and that cotton grown in Uganda is also beautiful. So we have a brand called Cotton Made in Africa. We have 850,000 farmers on the continent of Africa attached to that brand. We have a brand ambassador called Laura Chaplin. She's based in Europe. And we have a very strong marketing campaign with very strong ambassadors, brand ambassadors. And the reason we do that is, when you tell people your t-shirt is made in Uganda, some markets out there would not know where Uganda is, but when you tell him it's made in Africa, and the label inside says made in Uganda, so we are trying to tell the people. So you see the big label on our t-shirt is CMIA, Cotton Made in Africa, but when you look at the small label, it actually tells you made in Uganda. So we are very clear that we will educate the market out there and actually show the true pearl of Africa, which is where you are and which is where we are today. And yes, it's been a journey for us. It's been an interesting journey. It's been a new country for us. But I just feel that being born and brought up in Kenya, Uganda, culturally, language, people, everybody's so nice. I don't feel out of place. I feel totally at home. And we've got so much support that we've been given from the government that we can't believe that we've created this beautiful baby. We're now growing this baby. And like I said, we do everything from spinning, from knitting, from weaving, from dyeing, finishing, garmenting, making t-shirts, making shirts, making wovens, and we are actually in the full value chain and expanding that product portfolio. We are looking at expanding our portfolio into the domestic market. Like I said, originally we started with export as a big focus. Right now we also had domestic as a big focus, and our expansion that we're doing is largely to be done with the domestic market. We are fortunate that we have come to a situation where we are actually educating the local customers that we have that Uganda can make quality, because there's a phobia out there that Uganda can't make quality. The truth of the matter is, if Ugandan t-shirts can be found anywhere in the world today, in London, New York, Paris, then surely we are doing something right, in Milan. And so it's that education journey that we're doing. We are also making products specific for this market. We've started doing some uniforms for the domestic market. And we actually saw this happen in the last 12 months. Because what happened in the last 12 months, with the COVID pandemic, everything shut down. A lot of our customers shut shop. A lot of them went even bankrupt. And we were sitting here with this huge factory not knowing what to do. And that's the time I realized, you know what, there's got to be something. I've got to save the jobs. How do I save the jobs? And we did the same in our Kenya factory. We have a similar factory in Kenya. So we transformed our entire business model from making clothing for Europe and US, or t-shirts for that market, to making PPE for the domestic Uganda market. So if you look at this mask, right, this has been made here. And we were so fortunate and happy, this is 100% cotton, so fortunate and happy that the government of Uganda supported our bid and submission, and they were actually very fair. They gave all the factories in Uganda, depending on your production capacity, a slice of the pie. So when the government of Uganda announced that everybody will have one free mask, we were fortunate that we were one of the largest producers of masks in this country, and we did supply these face masks to the local people. And that's when we realized, wow, there's a huge market opportunity locally, there's a huge market opportunity domestically, and there's a huge market opportunity in the region of East Africa. So we are now exporting a lot to Kenya as well, to Rwanda, to Tanzania, and in the region, South Sudan. So we are growing our footprint regionally and locally, and at the same time growing our footprint in Europe and US in the export markets. If you look at the amount of families actually benefit from this investment in Uganda, for fine spinners investment, I already mentioned we have contracted 16,000 smallholder farmers, and we have 1,600 people working here in this factory. So between our contract farmers and our workers in this factory, we got 17,600 workers. And if you put a multiple of 5, or 6 people benefiting from that one job, we're looking at supporting 100,000 Ugandans. And as we grow in Uganda, as we are doubling our capacity right now, we're going to double our farmer group, which is going to be about 30,000 farmers, and at the same time this factory will have about 3,500 workers. So we're looking about 33,500 workers working for Fine Spinners Uganda somehow or the other, and that whole ecosystem would mean that we have about 200,000 Ugandan people that actually benefit from this investment. And that is one factory. Imagine the multiplying effect when more factories come on board and more people realize the opportunity of doing business and doing investment in Uganda. We've seen this country transform totally. That we are next door. I was born in Kenya, and I'm a thoroughbred East African. I only know East Africa, and that's the only country that I've lived in. And we've seen what happened in 1971 and 72 with the Amin regime, and then all the changes that happened until 1986. And since the last 25 years, since the NRM government has come in, we've seen stability. Like I mentioned, that if your neighbor's house is burning, the smoke comes to your house. We were feeling the smoke in the 70s and in the early 80s next door, because we are your neighbor. And fortunately, the smoke has died down, and the stability in Uganda is immaculate. And really, you need to be very proud that we have brought peace and growth. And you know what? They're all correlated. You cannot have growth without peace. And for growth and the economy to grow, you need social peace, and you need to create jobs. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's our big challenge. How do we now expand the job portfolio? But it's been a great journey for us, and I think for the NRM government to hold Uganda together with all that turmoil of the 70s, and to have a peaceful country coexisting in a neighborhood where we all feel very safe today. The rest of the world, when they talk about industry and investment, everybody talks about what is your USP? Yeah, and I look at them and I said, what do you mean USP? They say, yeah, what is your unique selling proposition? And I tell them I don't believe in USP. In Uganda, I have a UVP, and they asked me, what do you mean by a UVP? I said, I have a unique value proposition. And my unique value proposition from fine spinners from Uganda is that we are the only ones in the world that sell you a product which is fully traceable, fully sustainable. It's from the field to the fashion. So you can imagine that's a unique value chain. Not many people grow their own cotton and export t-shirts in the world. We are probably the only ones in the world. So this is very unique to fine spinners. This is very unique to Uganda. And I'm very proud that we have a UVP as opposed to a USP. We are expanding our factory. We want to diversify our product range. As you know, textiles is a very wide field. And we're going to start moving from one product line to another product line to another. And that's the diversification that we're doing with our machinery, with our new expansion and everything else. But really the way forward for us is If we can add more and more, like I said, today we're adding 10% of Uganda's crop is being consumed in this factory. In the next 3 years, it will be 20%. The more and more that we can convert Ugandan cotton into ready garments is the journey that I'm looking forward to, and it's not necessarily going to be done by me, but I really feel sorry and I feel like crying when I see that you're selling your raw material at $1 when you can sell it for $15 in a finished product. So the way forward to me is very clear, to the government of Uganda is very clear, to President Museveni it's very clear that we want to add value, and we don't want to sell primary raw materials, we want to sell a value-added product. And in the cotton value chain, as we speak today, we're looking at $750 million. That will be the single largest export out of Uganda if we can convert that cotton, the same cotton as you're doing today, into a t-shirt, as opposed to selling it into raw cotton. Currently, I think your largest export is coffee at about $400 million. This value chain will actually exceed and be almost double to your coffee production if we sell it as a finished product as opposed to a raw material. I think as Ugandans, first we need to be proud of what we are doing. I think that national pride is where it's the biggest problem and the biggest challenge. We psychologically feel that we can't make high quality. We psychologically feel that we don't know how to produce. And we psychologically feel, you know what, it's okay. But it's not okay. We need to tell every Ugandan, be proud of being Ugandan, be proud of our national policies, buy Ugandan, build Uganda. And the Bubu policy, we need to hold it to the letter. You know, it's been there for many, many years, but it has never really been infiltrated into the communities, into the ordinary Mwananchi Uganda. So we really need to make sure that Bubu works. We have a huge market opportunity domestically. We need to start believing in ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves, we believe imported is good. And if you see the product lines in this factory, and you wear them. I know of so many people who bought t-shirts abroad and they brought them back home, and only when they have checked the label inside they realize, oh my God, this is made in Uganda. I could have bought it here. Why did I go all the way to Germany to buy it? So I think we need to believe in ourselves. We can become world-class. We are world-class, and we will deliver a world-class product. In our journey of fine spinners, from where we came from and where we are today, I'd really like to thank our partners, and our partners more so our government of Uganda. If it had not been for President Museveni challenging me to come to Uganda, maybe I wouldn't have been here. If it was not for the support that the Ministry of Trade and Industry gave me, maybe we would have not been here. If it was not for the support for the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, who helped us to actually consummate this factory and get it up and running, we would not have been here. If it was not for the CDO, the Cotton Development Organization, to actually partner with us and to help us bring that raw material into a factory, maybe we wouldn't have been here. If it was not for the AGOA office, where we actually first became our contact point with the government of Uganda, that this is our project, this is what we want to do to export, I don't think we would have been here. So we have a lot of partners to thank, the whole government of Uganda under President Museveni, who have really supported our project. And of course not forgetting UBC, who today have televised our national pride. I would call you fine spinners the national pride of Uganda, to actually tell the world out there and to tell the Ugandans out there that we are serious, we are in business, and we are world class. Thank you.